Go ahead.
All right, so today me and Coach are going to be talking about creative endeavors. By the way, this is Ori once again, back at it with the podcast.
Back at it with the podcast. Is this even catching our sound at
No,
all?
no, it's catching our sound.
All right.
Yeah. So the reason we're talking about creative endeavors today is just because I've noticed a lot of people, especially recently, because I graduated, have actually been pursuing like their own little creative things that they've been trying to go for and taking those risks. So I actually thought I'd pursue something myself. Um, well, first, I guess I've always loved Photoshop. That was the first like creative outlet I ever had, and I started using Photoshop when I was in high school. And ever since then, I've used it for projects. I've used it when I was in the fraternity, and just made different posters and things like that for social media. So that was my first outlet, and then I started looking at memes. Right, started looking at memes on Reddit. Joined the fraternity meme chat, and from there I realized about last summer like I can make my own memes, and that was another creative outlet. And then more or less recently, after kind of doing that for a while and realizing maybe I'm a little too old to be making these memes now. I came onto your podcast, for example, so I think this is a lot of fun. And also now I'm going to start my own YouTube channel. My favorite YouTuber is Cody Co. You guys should probably check him out.
Who introduced you to Cody Co?
Yeah, so you introduced me to Cody Co.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that a lot of his videos are intellectual and they're like funny. It's not kind of a stupid comedy thing like Logan Paul where he's just like yelling at people and spending money, which I didn't really like that.
So the reason why we ended up on this topic was also fuck. I completely forgot about this. Welcome to the Geek podcast, season 3, episode 2, I guess, or something along those lines. But the reason why we ended up coming to this podcast topic was the fact that both of us are trying to kind of, apart from our full-time jobs, trying to do these like side projects in a way to kind of build a digital portfolio. Like, there's no purpose behind them, but we're kind of just doing it because we can and it's fun.
Yeah, creative outlet. Exactly.
And it's a way to kind of like deal with like, either just regular job stuff or you have free time and you're just like, I want to kind of get this out there. Yeah. I started doing a podcast. Ori's been helping me out, setting up like a YouTube channel for the podcast as well. He's been in charge of like, he built the new design for the logo and everything like that, which looks fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, love Photoshop.
And that's something I gotta learn. Like we ended up getting Photoshop, but like I still don't know how to use it at all. I've been using Google Snapseed to edit photos that I take, and that's basically been it. But that was one of those things like where my creative outlets were usually like I would either write scripts or I joined radio when I was in college as a way to kind of get everything out there, like start talking about shit, start talking about movies, news, whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like my version of like doing something, but I don't know, just kind of like creating something and putting it out there.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think a lot of people are honestly very scared of the risk that entails doing that. A lot of people are very scared about showing their true personality, showing what they think about things. Because there's, honestly, they're scared other people are going to judge them. If you put out a podcast like this, you put out a YouTube video, people are going to judge you. They're going to listen, and they're going to, they're going to have some kind of perception about you based on what you say.
But
and so many people are scared of that they just obviously won't do it. I mean, we're around a group of friends that honestly likes to do this stuff, which I find amazing. But most people that you come across, are honestly, they're scared to actually put out what they think about things. And I think that even just taking that giant leap forward, throwing out that podcast, throwing out a YouTube video, I just, find it very impressive. So I like that.
The way that I would say this is like, and while Cody Co's like YouTube videos and stuff like that are something that I introduced you to because I'm just like, this would be a fun outlet.
Yeah.
And you kind of have a similar sense of humor and, it would be fun to kind of like just do our own version of it. That was one of the things where like, I remember there's a particular filmmaker who got me into writing scripts in general. And he's this guy called Kevin Smith, who was like a kid that grew up in Jersey. Yeah. And then started writing scripts and then made a movie for like less than $30,000. For like a solid hour and 40-minute long movie. Ended up becoming like one of the best. Wow. Yeah, one of the best indie films ever created. And it's still kind of shown as like, this is how you make a film about just your friends and you kind of talking about stuff. And one of the things that he said during one of the talks that he was giving, maybe 15 years after he made Clerks, was that there's always going to be people in your life that are the why not people. Or sorry, there's always going to be the people in your life that are going to be the why people. It's like, I want to do this, and the answer that they're going to give you is like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do this?
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind it? But like, you kind of need to have like a why not personality in the sense that like, why wouldn't I want to like create a podcast? Why wouldn't I want to create a YouTube channel? Why wouldn't I want to create something and put it out there? Because what's the worst that could happen? Like at the very worst, as long as you're not hurting someone, you're just putting out something that someone's just gonna be like, nah, you're a nerd, stop.
Yeah.
It's something like that, but it's like it's never. There might be at some point someone might just listen to something, watch something, or something along those lines, in the way that it happened for us, where you're just like, oh man, I would love to do something like this, but because you got an inspiration from someone else.
Yeah.
And you could be that effect for someone else. Like you could help create like a creative outlet by just being like, hey, there's two morons that have no idea what they're talking about, but they decided to create a podcast because they have opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about living life, and I always say this, and it sounds so cliche, but I think it's all about living life with no regrets, because I realized after a while that there are a lot of things that I've always regretted not doing that I've always wanted to do, and so I've started to pursue those things, and that includes even just, making a YouTube channel. I've always thought, like, I might be able to do this, it might be good, maybe it won't, but I'd rather just try and see what happens. So that's why, I recently went out, I bought this microphone, which is really good for podcasts, and just, it's also going to help during those videos. Today I went to Best Buy, I bought myself like a professional DSLR camera, and the special like links I needed essentially to use it on my computer and start recording, YouTube videos. I'm probably going to buy, like studio lighting or whatever, just make sure it looks good. And even though it's a big investment in the end, I'd rather just try and have it done professionally from the beginning rather than, kind of like, I guess, half-ass it in a way.
Yeah, huge amount of initial investment in order to get like a better return.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in the end, I'll always feel better having done it at the best level that I possibly could, just trying my best. And in the end, I also have the equipment. The microphone's always useful. The DSLR camera I could use to take pictures, even though I'm not a big photo guy. Maybe one day I will be. So I don't know. Whoever's thinking about, pursuing some kind of creative endeavor, whether it's like, let's say, making music, for example, starting a business, podcasts, videos, whatever that may be, I'd say honestly just go and do it, and don't necessarily be scared about what people are going to think about you. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you're only really hurting yourself if you're not doing something because you're scared of other people's opinions. Yeah. So I think that's just a good philosophy that I've been following recently. It's genuinely made me feel like personally happier about everything.
Like we had kind of a learning moment today when you were trying to look at like the video analytics on the YouTube thing, and I'm just like, don't really look at that.
Yeah,
it's like it's if it's good, then it's gonna like boost your ego, but if it's bad, it's gonna hurt you.
Yeah, I just realized. I mean, it's just because I like looking at numbers. Like that's what my my job that I do every single day is just analyzing, looking at data. So even when it comes to this, I just have a natural curiosity to just literally go and log in and see like, okay, like what's data could I look at? How could I use this data to help myself or whatever? So.
The one thing would be like never let it deter you from actually creating something. Like
not to give up ever. Yeah.
Exactly. No, never expect like an overnight success kind of thing, or never really even expect a successful thing at all. It's just like you're putting shit out because you kind of want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know. That's it's kind of like the reason behind why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Why I'll like occasionally take like a few months break and then come back and just be like, hey, it's a new season.
Yeah, and I mean, I always respect people who do things like this. For example, me and Kush have a friend who began his own clothing line, or we have another few friends that decided to like put out songs.
Yeah.
We have another friend who actually, he literally, I guess, he quit his day job and now he's just pursuing freelance work and is trying to start and pursue his dreams essentially with his own podcast. So I see things like that. I honestly think it's like, I respect it so much, the fact that people are willing to take that leap and throw themselves out there. And despite the quality of the content, whether, you think it's good or bad, even just taking that initial leap was already a good sign about a, person's drive and their personality. When you see that about someone, I think it honestly makes you respect them a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're just willing to throw themselves out there, because so many people just aren't. Like, it's unbelievable. So I've talked to so many people who are, bright, very smart, outgoing, etc., but they'll never just take that step to really, put their voice out there, even though that's something that you have to do. So,
well, it's taking into account where some people are willing to take a leap of faith just because they believe in themselves enough. You could be an absolute genius, but if you don't if you're uncomfortable with the idea of just criticisms or things like that, you would never really put anything about you in a public persona or create a public persona for yourself, because it's just gonna. There's no 100% chance like someone's just gonna be like, this thing sucks.
Yeah.
And if you're just like, I really couldn't give a shit about this person's opinion, I just want to do my own thing, you can continue doing this.
Yeah, and that's why I'm making a YouTube channel. Like, I'm trying to, even before I'm making my first video, I'm trying to plan it out and make it so that it's interesting content, because I don't just want to throw something out there that kind of seems like I just threw it together and that was the end of it. So I'm really trying to think carefully about the topics, what I'm going to talk about, the video editing, for example. That's also a good way of just using your brain. The thing is like my brain never turns off. Like, I literally, I stopped basically, watching TV. I'm just always outside doing things in my free time, whether, it's running or going to the gym or just like eating with people, or just like sitting here talking like this. But and I feel like, you're very similar in that way too. Like, our minds just don't turn off ever. Like, every day kind of feels like it's merged into the next for me. It doesn't feel like the days are even separated.
No, it's hard to do it because like there's consistent like rollover of whatever you do. You start something today because you want to put it out tomorrow, and then you want to make a sequel to it the very next day. And then you obviously have like our full-time jobs and everything like that. You can't just be like, this is all we do, because we actually like have 9 to 5s. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's and I also think it's really good to just keep your brain busy, not just kind of let it be satisfied in whatever you're doing, essentially. Because I know a lot of people, I have nothing against this, but a lot of people will come home after a long day. They'll sit down, they'll watch Netflix, and that's great. That's good for them that they enjoy that. But for me, just for me personally, I just kind of like to think that I always want my mind to be working, and creating content is a way of having that done. Just always having to think like, okay, what could I add to this? What could I learn new in this program? What could I talk about? All these things are just constantly putting your mind to work, rather than looking at something that people already someone else did that work and generated, like whatever show you're watching. Someone else did that same thing.
But if you have an idea for something along those lines, then why not do that? Why not create it?
Yeah, exactly. And there are times where obviously like, I do watch like YouTube videos and stuff like that. Like, I'm not just always doing things every single second, but I try as best as I can 99% of the time to always keep my mind busy.
I guess a good way to like summarize this to an extent is just like, if you feel like there is something you want to create, just kind of do it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't regret it. Like, don't regret it.
Put the effort in. Like, it'll maybe give up on a few nights out or something like that. Put the effort in, but then create that thing, and that will leave you satisfied. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. Like, the last few days, all I've been doing is like I've been merging the old podcast episodes that I had.
Yeah.
And I've been merging them and kind of like rendering out a video and then uploading it and then processing it, and then in one blast I'm going to be putting everything online.
Yeah.
So obviously this episode's going to go online, but right before this episode goes online, I'm going to have my two previous seasons also on the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of like gives out the content, like instead of it just being like an episode every once in a while, like let there be content that's up there. It's one of the main things about like, even if you want to really get dedicated to something and stick by it, is like realizing that you've been building a small portfolio for a while and you want to continue doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. And you're always going to regret things that you didn't do rather than what you did.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I don't sit there kind of thinking, oh, I regret doing this. It's most of the time, I mean, and obviously that happens, but most of the time it's sitting there thinking like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I take this step? Why didn't I go and pursue this, etc. When you really know that you should have, and there's just maybe something in your mind holding you back. So I try my best. I really try my best to ignore that little voice in my head that's saying like, oh no, like don't do it, don't do this, don't do that. And ever since I've been, I'm very glad with my decisions I've made so far. Hopefully things keep on working out though. Hopefully it doesn't screw me over in the end.
That's one of my pieces of advice that I was just like, with the full-time position and stuff like that, you just want to stray away from anything that's going to
anything crazy
or controversial is probably going to bite you in the ass. So you want to kind of like
keep it PG and like nothing. Yeah,
because there's more than enough content. Like, you don't have to be controversial in order to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that is one of the biggest like fallacies when it comes to like creating anything, is that
to gain attention has to be controversial.
It's like I classified it in the same thing as like someone just being like, oh, you need to be a tortured soul in order to be a great artist, and it's like, no, you fucking don't. You just need to be good at what you do. You need to be like imaginative, you need to be creative. Those are the things. You don't have to have like a fucking sketchy past in order to like create something that's good.
And there's always this ability in certain aspects of people's lives that people are born with, So for example, I could have started at age 3, decided to try and play golf, as much as Tiger Woods did when he was growing up, right? Could have practiced every day, 24 hours a day, forever. and I would have reached my eventual peak in terms of my golfing abilities. But guess what? There's no way I was ever going to be even nearly as good as someone like Tiger Woods, because there's just that, you know, I think we've talked about this, right? There's that natural ability. There's that ability you could like kind of get just through, you know, training and skill, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's just that, you know, ability. There's an ability that you're born with.
Yeah.
You know, that just like honestly goes beyond what other people could even try to match you with. So I think something that I've been trying to do is maybe find that thing I was born with and see. I mean, you know, see what it is essentially, because I have no idea, and I feel like a lot of people never figure it out. Mm-hmm. And you know, for the ones who do, it works out great for them. You know, whether it's not even like physical capabilities. I'm talking about even, you know, people are like, you know, talk show hosts or whatever they may be, or like scientists or engineers. Once they find that thing, though, I think it's amazing. So I guess I'm just testing it out, seeing what that thing is for me.
And what I would say is like it's better to like try everything and then realize what you don't want to do than just completely give yourself into one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I tried out streaming, realized I didn't really enjoy it. I've been doing podcasts and radio for, I don't know, 5 years now, possibly. So, you know, it's at a point where it's like, holy shit, I've been doing this shit for 5 years, on and off.
Yeah, it's fun.
But,
it's good.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's just like, just give it a try. There's nothing really wrong with it. And if it sucks, then don't do it. But if it sucks and you like it, then try it again. Yeah,
and I mean, you know, even just trying out this YouTube thing, I have no idea how it's going to go, but I'm going to put my 100% in there, and then I guess we'll see if people find it funny or not.
No, that's perfectly normal. Like, you just want to kind of give it a try and see how it goes.
Or not just $800 in the garbage, but it's all right.
Well, who gives a shit? You can make it back.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Or actually, no, I could just, I could keep on using the camera for whatever. So.
Like, you could, the experiences that you get from either making this and it sucking or it being good, those things you can't, like, really replicate. Yeah. The money that you put down in the initial investment, you know, maybe...
You always make that back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the entire point of a salary.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. This one was probably going to be a pretty short episode as well. We were just, like, going to talk about random shit. I'm going to be doing another episode with another friend of mine where we're just going to talk about, like, streaming stuff. So I'm not quite 100% sure whether that episode would have already come out by the time this one goes online or what's going to happen. But look out for that. Look out for Ori's YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting it up on, I don't know, probably on my social media, but also I might actually loop you in on my website as well.
Hey, yeah.
And just have like a dedicated area for like your shit.
Yeah, I'll make it presentable.
And yeah, this is basically it. This is going to be a short and sweet episode. We kind of wanted to just put our thoughts out there as to why we do this. And hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope someone decided that, hey, maybe I want to create a podcast as well, whatever it may be.
Yeah, go pursue creative endeavors. And honestly, you know, I mean, it's hard not to care. It's hard to, you know, try to say I don't care what people think. And like, obviously everyone does. But I guess try your best to
have a thick skin.
Get uncomfortable, you know? Like, get uncomfortable. Just, you have to jump to swim, right? You have to jump in to swim. So
give it a try. As long as your creative endeavor does not hurt anyone, give it a try.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Yeah, that's the message.
Well, see you guys.
Peace.
Have fun.